Owing to your experience, how do you think the working culture has changed in these years?
From simple to complicated, basically. I think that it went from... it's a bit difficult to answer because you can give two answers to the same question. I think that on one hand, the creativity is favored because today, working digitally and being much more flexible, you can try more things. But on the other hand, not thinking and not trying to imagine what you want to do, not making your imagination work and you know, really giving a good thought about why you want to do this. Because once you're going to do it, you're going to be committed because you're working the conventional way. Was also very interesting. I feel that sometimes people are getting lost into the digital world and they just do things because they can be done. And sometimes we tend to forget that we're not here to necessarily please ourselves. We're here to please other people. And these people are not necessarily having the knowledge that we have or the visual culture that we have. And we should not forget that they react to an image. And the most important is actually to understand what is their reaction. One other thing is that I'm now 45. I'm not part of a young generation. And I could eventually start to get out of touch. I do not feel any interest on watching a film on an iPhone. It's not my thing. I'm still very attached to film. So I get to meet, I'm working with older people than me, which are film people. I'm working with younger people than me, and it's very interesting to find that some I just cannot communicate with them. And some others are actually looking forward for somebody who thinks differently than them. So all in all, it's very interesting, and you know, things have to evolve, and let's just be part of it.
Okay. Since you've worked with digital grading and traditional film grading, if you could talk a little about that as well.
When I've been introduced to digital grading, my first reaction has been to reject it. You know, 17 years doing one job, and somebody suddenly you know, you come with, oh yes, this is the way to do it now. Sorry, not gonna work with me. But when I started to understand that I could actually miss the boat there, I changed my mind, and I started to have a look at it. The digital grading allows me to get rid of my frustration. I can control contrast. I can control saturation. But just with that, just doing color, density, contrast, and saturation, that's 95% of the work. And there's things that I couldn't do before. There were things that I could see. So it's fantastic for me. And I'm not talking about all the masking concept and the power window, which is just something else, which add to the creative process, because I can also have my influence on rebalancing an image, on you know, putting a character forward, or just working on moods and things like that. But I have to say that conventional grade, I miss it, because I think it was much more intuitive. And even if the frame where you were working was tighter, you had to use a lot more your imagination, because you can't have 25 goes at something. So you really had to imagine how you wanted the things to be, and then try to make them work with very basic correction. When it worked, and when you had to wait at least a few hours to see the result of what you imagine, and here you are in front of a screen, and you just think, yes, it works, it's beautiful, it is extremely rewarding. So, you know, both are good. I'm a happy colorist.
The bottom line is
that's the bottom line.
Okay, how challenging was the DI process in 10 canoes that you worked on?
That was another good one. 10 canoes, they wanted to shoot it black and white. And I said to them that they should not shoot it black and white. And we had a few arguments about that. People have lost the real visualization of black and white. You just don't remember how grainy it was, how unbalanced it was, because black and white is all about contrast. If you don't match your contrast, you're gone. And I don't think that many people ever saw black and white prints shot from black and white neck in cinema. And I think the director was having that in his mind. That's how he dreamed of it. So we did a 4K DI on that job. That was actually our first 4K DI. And what the test we did was to try to show them that actually you could get a better black and white, closer to his imagination of it, by shooting color neg, going through a DI process. And actually it worked. I have since discussed with, not that long ago, with other colorists on their way to do black and white, and it's very funny to see that we've got a different way, because they're coming from a different background. I'm coming from a film background, so I do it one way. They come from a video background, or a VFX background, and they do it another way. Not saying that I'm right or wrong, but in that instance, they did tests with other companies in Australia who were more VFX based, and in that very instance, actually, I was right. That's coming from the way that I manipulate an image, because my understanding of what film is, which they're not having. At the end of the day, one more time, that was a fantastic experience, and we've been able to mix color and black and white. If you don't do a DI today, that can be done, but it's very expensive and it's not consistent.